regardless, I'm heartless. Even if I gotta take it, I'll take it. See if it's money out there, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna make it. Oh, 'cause I cry, 'cause I hustle, 'cause I cry, 'cause I hustle.
YouTube, welcome to Backstabber TV, where we have enough drama for your mama. Today's story is about an eccentric pimp by the name of Alan E. Brown Jr., aka Prince. Now, Prince even got his own mother caught up in his racketeering and extortion schemes. 73-year-old Tamika P. Brown was charged with promoting prostitution. In a consolidated effort dubbed Operation Red Light, Prince, along with several other co-defendants, which included other family members, were targeted. The investigation revealed that for nearly 2 decades, Prince ruled the ring with an iron fist, coercing hundreds of women to sell their bodies on the streets. So at the top of the indictment, the government has Alan E. Brown Jr., aka Prince, labeled as the CEO. And then they have his mother, Tacoma P. Brown, and also a Maria Taylor, and also a Tacoma L. Brown as facilitators. Then we have as management Annie Y. Cooper, aka China. Under the workers, they have Arthur Brown, Anthony Evans, Jerome Robinson, and several unidentified males. And as the money makers, they have several unidentified females, which they have declined to identify because at this point they're being treated as victims, and so they're not being charged under the instrument of the indictment. Okay, see, now this is interesting. This story published in April 20th, 2010 states Mama Pimp 73 pleads guilty after son rats her out. And it goes on to say a 73-year-old woman admitted today to pimping in New Jersey today after being squealed on by her son. Tacoma Brown pleaded guilty to promoting prostitution between April 2000 and December 2004 in Jersey City Superior Court on Tuesday afternoon. Prosecutors asked for probation of 1 to 5 years for Mrs. Brown. Brown's son, Alan E. Brown, aka Prince, 48, pleaded guilty to first-degree racketeering and second-degree theft by extortion on April the 1st in Superior Court. The state has recommended that he receive 20 years. Prince's plea required him to implicate his mother, who owned the Society Hill home he ran his prostitution ring out of. The son reportedly lured desperate girls into his web of sex for money with promises of good life, then forced them into drugs and prostitution. And the indictment that was filed August the 7th, 2009 in Superior Court, State of New Jersey versus Alan Brown, aka Prince, Tacoma Brown, Marla Brown, Arthur Brown, Tacoma L. Brown, and Jerome Robinson and Anthony Evans. Count 1 charges racketeering in the first degree. Then it goes on to name all of the co-defendants and other persons whose identities are both known and unknown to the grand jurors, some of whom are named as co-conspirators and members of the criminal enterprise, but is not as defendants herein. meaning that a lot of the females cooperated and they weren't charged, and so they're considered witnesses instead of co-defendants. And it states the relevant places. The predicate criminal activity took place at the city of New Jersey and in the city of Bayonne, both in the county of Hudson, at the city of Newark, in the county of Essex, at the city of Paterson, in the county of Passaic, at the city of Elizabeth, in the county of Union, at the city of Camden, in the county of Camden, and in the city of Atlantic City, in the county of Atlantic, elsewhere and within the jurisdiction of this court. The enterprise, and then it goes on to state all of the co-defendants, all of who are co-conspirators, and Annie Cooper, who was a likewise conspirator and the member of the enterprise, although not charged herein, and other persons whose identities are both known and unknown to the state and grand jurors. The purpose of the enterprise. The purpose of the enterprise would include the unlawful trafficking of individuals to engage in prostitution in exchange for U.S. currency as follows. The enterprise had a leadership that financed, organized, supervised, and managed the subordinate members in a common course of conduct to hold, recruit, lure, entice, harbor, transport, provide, or obtain by any means individuals to engage in prostitution by threats of serious bodily harm or physical restraint against them by means of any scheme, plan, or pattern intended to cause the persons to believe that the persons or any other persons would suffer serious bodily harm or physical restraint, and or by removing and confiscating any document issued by the government agency which could be used as any means of verifying the person's identity, age, or any other personal identifying information. The leadership of this enterprise would recruit, lure, and entice women to accompany them using different approaches, including offering controlled substances, and that is cocaine, heroin, to them. Once the women took the drugs, the leadership would advise them that they would be required to work off the drug debt by becoming a prostitute for them. The leadership required the women to make a certain amount of money each day or face physical violence. The leadership collected all the money and ordered management and other subordinates to control and manipulate the women. The management of the enterprise was tasked with enforcing the rules of the enterprise and disciplining the women in various ways, including but not limited to the infliction of physical violence for breaking the rules. The enterprise also consisted of subordinates who were responsible for transporting the women to work as prostitutes, obtaining controlled dangerous substances for the women, maintaining the household and vehicles, and confining or physically restraining the women. The enterprise further consisted of individuals who were required to engage in financial transactions involving U.S. currency and property. That is, individuals who made bank deposits or withdrawals, purchased, leased, or maintained houses, or purchased or leased vehicles, all in the effort to facilitate the criminal activities and to conceal the ownership and sources of the property. Through this artifice, the enterprise trafficked a large number of women and forced them into prostitution. Then it individualizes the activity. As to Allen Brown, did commit the racketeering conduct by engaging in or conspiring to commit repeated acts of human trafficking, promoting prostitution, unlawful possession with intent to distribute controlled dangerous substances, unlawful possession of a weapon, criminal coercion, money laundering, failure to file income tax, failure to pay gross income taxes, and theft by extortion. As to Tacoma Brown, she did commit the racketeering conduct by engaging in or conspiring to commit repeated acts of money laundering, theft by extortion, failure to pay gross income tax, failure to file income tax returns, and promoting prostitution. Arthur Brown did commit the racketeering conduct by engaging in or conspiring to commit repeated acts of human trafficking and promoting prostitution, all of which is subject to the counts herein. Marlo Taylor did commit the racketeering conduct by engaging in or conspiring to commit repeated acts of promoting prostitution and money laundering, which is the subject of the counts herein. Tacoma L. Brown did commit the racketeering conduct by engaging in or conspiring to commit repeated acts of promoting prostitution and money laundering, which is the subject of the counts within. Jerome Robinson did commit the racketeering conduct by engaging in and conspiring to commit repeated acts of promoting prostitution and money laundering. Blase blase. Anthony Evans did commit the racketeering conduct by engaging in or conspiring to commit the repeated acts of human trafficking and promoting prostitution. The part that the government really liked. Forfeitures. All allegations herein set forth are hereby incorporated by reference, reallocated as if fully set forth herein for the purpose of allocating forfeiture pursuant to NJSA blase blase blase. The defendants have property constituting interstate, including things of value established, required, maintained, operated, controlled, conducted, or participated in the violation. The said entrance, all subject to forfeiture to the state of New Jersey, shall expressly include the following vehicles that were acquired, maintained, operated, or controlled in the furtherance of the enterprise for the purpose of including but not limited to recruiting or transporting women for the purpose of engaging in prostitution, acquired, maintained, operated, and controlled. 1 1999 Daewoo golden color vehicle, identification number blase blase. 1 1994 Cadillac DeVille, black in color. 1 2004 Hummer H2. 1 1981 Rolls Royce, silver in color. Count 2 alleges conspiracy and the second degree, and it states that Alan Brown, Arthur Brown, and Anthony Evans participated in this conspiracy level. So, I'm kind of curious to get to the bare bones of the extortion charge, because it seems to be, it was big on the indictment. And so let me go into some details about that. Okay, I located the origin of the extortion charge. Okay, Assistant Attorney General Anne Marie Target said Brown extorted a $600,000 inheritance from a woman who turned over the money because the woman feared for her and her niece's lives. Target added that one woman who refused to become a prostitute was handcuffed to a bed and forced to take heroin until she became addicted. Damn, that's straight out one of them old Russian fucking human trafficking movies. Okay, so apparently nobody went to trial. Everybody pled guilty. And Alan E. Brown, they say he got a little testy in court when he was sentenced to 18 years in prison by Judge Kevin Callahan in the Hudson County Superior Court in New Jersey. Brown, aka Prince, was shocked at the length of his sentence. 18 years, Brown blurted out in court when Callahan announced the sentence. This will take you to your 60th birthday until you see the light of day, said Callahan. The facts of this case are horrendous. They are vast. Prince, 48, who authorities say operated the ring out of a home on Lyon Avenue in an upstate development on Hackensack River, was sentenced to 10 years for racketeering and 8 years for extortion. When Brown first walked into the courtroom, he said to his lawyer, "I'm tired of your bullshit." His hair was styled exquisitely, with wavy strands curled on his forehead and a long thin ponytail hanging over his shoulders. Even before he was sentenced, Brown told the judge he didn't understand how much time he faced. His attorney told the judge that Brown refused to go over the sentencing materials with him. The judge even said he was concerned because in Brown's written statement, Brown seemed to back away from some of the admissions he made when he pleaded guilty in April. The judge sent the defense lawyer and Brown out to discuss the matter, and when they returned, Brown said he stood by his plea hearing admission. At the plea hearing, Brown, who admitted he ran a human trafficking and prostitution ring, was told that he faced from 12 to 20 years in prison. Authorities say he enslaved women and girls, some as young as 17, and forced them to turn tricks on the street. He even turned some into drug addicts, authorities say. The women were forced to earn $500 on weeknights and $1,000 on weekend nights, or else they were denied entry back into the house, or were denied drugs, or were beaten. Brown's mother, Takora Brown, and his sister, Veronica, attended the sentencing. Takora Brown pled guilty to promoting prostitution and is not expected to be given prison time. Authorities say the Lion Avenue home belonged to Takora Brown. After his conviction, Prince gave an interview to the Jersey Journal that was videotaped in July 2010 after his sentencing, where he stated, "Most people are intrigued by my lifestyle. Something like a dark night. It's a secret society that we live in, rarely exposed to square workers." Brown told the Journal that he never used violence. They needed to sit down and talk to someone who they really totally understood, and let them know that even though they were in this life, that there were better days ahead with me. Brown said of his prostitutes, they had the right to choose if they wanted to be with him or some gorilla pimp that was probably busting their heads open. Brown, who suffered from cancer, said he wanted to try his hand at being a preacher when he finished his prison term. Apparently, he never ever got to live out that dream, because less than a year later, Brown died of cancer in prison. Well, you know, the public had mixed feelings about his passing. One individual wrote, "Good riddance, one less piece of filth in the world." How did he die? Was he slain in prison? Should have been. You know, that awful hairstyle might have cost him some extra years in prison. And then also another individual said, "R.I.P. Prince. Just to let you know, Alan Brown just died, one of the best who ever did it." As the story goes, Jersey City's Alan Prince Brown began his pimping ways in grammar school, continued in high school, and finally hit the big time in New York City 30 years ago. She, his prostitute, took me to 42nd Street, took off her clothes, and all she had on was a G-string, and started working as a prostitute, Brown said, a former resident of Jersey City's Society Hills. During a recent interview at his current home, the Hudson County Jail in Kearney, "I was a young kid, and I was doing roller skating shows at the Roxy, and she asked me to be a pimp," Brown said. "She handed me like $500. That's when he knew," he said, "he had found his true calling, catching girls." Brown, 48, who sports a wild hairdo that became an internet sensation after the Jersey Journal posted his photo on the Hudson County website, he was sentenced to 18 years in prison on May 19th after he pleaded guilty to human trafficking and running a prostitution ring. Brown bragged that he had 42 women turning tricks for him. And as early as the 8th grade, he tried his hand at taking frisky girls to Manhattan to make money having sex. But we all got busted, he said. It was not a good night. At Lincoln High, he had 3 girls selling their bodies to keep him living large, he added. But let me clarify one thing. These girls were already prostitutes, Brown said. They were high school prostitutes. They lasted for about 2 years and then they drifted off. Authorities said Brown is glossing over some ugly facts, namely the fact that he enslaved women and girls, forced them to turn tricks, extorted one woman's inheritance, and hooked all of them on heroin. However, Brown denied using any violence and said he held no one against her will. He said he took a lot of chances getting drugs for him, and in a way, they were using him. He was also a father figure in their lives, he said. So my YouTubers and backstabbers, what's your verdict? Rest in peace or good fucking riddance?
I'm making money regardless, I'm heartless. Even if I gotta take it, I'll take it. See if it's money out there, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna make it.
Cause I cry, cause I hustle, cause I cry, cause I hustle.
YouTube, welcome to Backstabbing TV, where we have enough drama for your mama.